Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From beautiful Huntington Beach on the HealthyLife.net radio network in all 50 states and 135 countries, all positive talk radio all the time. Welcome to all my caregiver listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host, former mayor of a California beach town and best-selling author, Debbie Peterson. And we're also coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio podcast networks, on 26 global audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio, and the list goes on and on. In fact, we are proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, #2 caregiver podcast on FeedSpot out of the top 60, and #2 on caringvillage.com. And we have an exciting show planned for you today. Cheryl Hogrefe received her own Alzheimer's diagnosis within the very same year as her mother's passing. Cheryl was diagnosed on December 4th, 2016, which is when her husband, Ron, knew that it was time to put all those years of watching Cheryl's serve time as a full-time primary caregiver to use. It was his turn to step up, and for the next 6 years, Ron watched as Cheryl's cognitive abilities slowly decreased from a normal score of 26 to a score of 15, moderate cognitive impairment, by the spring of 2022. And there's a lot more to tell, but I'm going to let them tell the story because it's a fascinating story of hope. Before we get started, I do want to take this moment and thank my last week's guest, Arlene Cadet Francois. She's a first-generation businesswoman empowering aspiring individuals in their assisted living journey. As an experienced ALF owner and operator, that means assisted living facility, guides and supports clients in establishing thriving ventures. And just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of our other 26 global audio video platforms that I mentioned earlier. All right, enough of that. Ron and Cheryl Hogrefe, so great to have you on the Caregiver Dave Show.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We're both happy to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And I always like to ask my guests, who are the first time I interview them, just who are Ron and Cheryl Hogrefe, and why were they placed on this earth? And Ron, I think I'm going to let you answer it. Then I'm going to let Cheryl have the opportunity to answer why she thinks she was placed on this earth. Go ahead, you first.
I think there were many different reasons, and they've changed over the years. But currently, I think my reason for being here on earth is to be a caregiver for my wife, my wonderful wife right here. Many things over the years, after being married 54 years, there have been a lot of reasons over the years, but that's my reason that I believe I'm here today.
Yeah, you just had to wait 54 years to implement your purpose in life, huh?
Well, I've been doing it a few years now. So,
Cheryl, what's your reason for being on this earth? Why did God put you on this great big earth?
Well, I think that I'm here on this earth because I want to live a life that everyone wants to live, and I want to give to others and in any way that I can, and to help them.
And your mother, if she was here, I'm sure she would say some very nice things about you because you helped her out.
Yes, I was very happy that I could help her through that time that we had her in our home and stuff. And so I wanted to make sure I called her my happy girl all the time because she loved to laugh. And even in her shape and everything that was happening around her, she was still a very happy girl, and stuff. And that was something that probably most people might not see in their loved one. going through a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah.
That brings out something that one of the things we've learned. Every dementia case, every Alzheimer's case is different. They can tell you, average life expectancy is 4 to 8 years from diagnosis, but there are people who have lived 20 years. Cheryl's 7.5 years into it. And if we didn't tell you, or you didn't have a long conversation with her, you wouldn't have a clue. So, it's amazing. Every case is different.
Tell me about your background and experience as caregivers, both of you, because was her mother her first caregiving experience, or were there others?
Well, actually, in 1992, we moved her grandparents from Selma, Alabama to Lakeland, where we live.
Wow.
And her grandfather was quite far along into the disease of Alzheimer's. And with her grandmother being legally blind and denying the fact that he had any problems, Cheryl became the default caregiver. And she knew absolutely nothing about the disease.
I hate when they deny they have it. That just makes your job so much harder. My mother accepted it, but my mother-in-law, man, I don't have dementia. I just have a little memory issue, and that just doesn't work.
Granddaddy had no clue what was wrong, but grandmother, she didn't. He was an educated man. He can't have disease. There's nothing wrong with him, but she became default caregiver for him, and that was a struggle. Only lasted 3 years till he passed, but then she was caregiver for her grandmother, legally blind, and was the hands and feet on that situation till she passed in 99. But then 2006, her mother was diagnosed. And I'd like to say it became our story in 2008. Her mother moved into our home with us, and Cheryl became full-time 24/7 caregiver for her mother. And that adventure was something, but
I always tell people, if you're not a caregiver, just wait, because they're like tuning you out. Oh, he's talking to caregiver. He's not talking to me. I says, if you're not a caregiver, just wait. Everyone is either going to become a caregiver, chances are, or need a caregiver. There's no escaping it. It's inevitable. And that's certainly been the case for Cheryl. She was caregiver to 3 people in her life, and now she needs a caregiver. And they say that 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones do from the stress. Many more become sicker than the ones they care for, and become hospitalized, need a caregiver of their own. And praise God that didn't happen to your wife. And but there's another statistic that says whatever illness or disability that a caregiver is caring for, that the odds of them getting that exact same illness or disability is very good, which I don't understand how that can even be. But here we go. Cheryl's another statistic. She was caring for someone with memory issues, and now she has memory issues. But the good story here is that there's hope. Tell us about how you found out, or how you were asking questions, that there is a possibility that there's a drug out there that could help. Maybe some of the old drugs, they slow it down, but there's new stuff on the market today, right? And clinical trials. How did you find out about that?
Well, actually, we were clinical trials were brought to us when we first got in touch with the Bird Institute in Tampa, Florida.
Now, what is the Bird Institute?
Bird. It's spelled BYRD. It's the Bird Institute. It's part of USF Health in Tampa, Florida, and they are known, I've been told, worldwide as a premier dementia care facility, research facility.
Is it only dementia, Alzheimer's, or will they do dementia as well?
All types of dementia.
Okay, that's
for dementia care. But while there, the doctors say, "Hey, we have some drug trials. Would you like to see if you qualify?" Of course, she did to start with and was booted out of that one. But that started the search. She said, "Well, there's another trial. Let's try this one." And for other reasons, she was booted out of that. fast forward to 2022, early in the year, a recruiter for drug trials contacted us about a possible trial near us in Merritt Island, Florida. We went there. She didn't qualify for that one because she was too far along in the disease.
Wow, you just
But-
didn't give up. You kept trying and trying and trying, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And then that same recruiter called us back and said, we found another trial, but you have to be there 70 miles away tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Can you be there?
Wow.
So, and that started the journey, the first 5 weeks, and then a couple of months follow-up study. It was once a week, every week, driving over there, staying in a motel the night before, all day long,
Wow.
drug infusions and tests after tests.
Did the
for 5
kids
weeks.
get involved, helping you get there, driving you there or whatever?
Yeah, yes. I mean, the caregiver is heavily involved because the cognitive testing and stuff, they asked me, spent an hour of time asking me myriad of questions about what we've done, where we've gone, things, history of Cheryl, so they could bring her in and test her cognitive abilities and her memory. Every time there was testing, I volunteered for some other trials myself while I was there. So
How did you do? Are you in good shape?
yes, I'm in good shape, but they
Knock on
need,
wood?
yeah, or knock on wood, as some people say. But yes, but this trial has been amazing. The results are really showing promise, and we're quite hopeful because of what's showing up in this particular drug trial.
Wow. I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, this is like a Hallmark movie, you know? And I know you're not very far along, but heck, to see any kind of progress is great. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, Elisha the prophet was praying for rain after like a 7-year drought, and he's praying and he says, "Go look." No, nothing yet. Go look, nothing yet. He did that 7 times. And finally says, "Well, there's a little cloud the size of a man's head." And Elisha got excited. "Go tell Ahab that it's going to rain." And you know, any kind of progress with dementia is a big deal.
Absolutely, and I'm encouraged that I mean, people need to get involved. You have to go out and search for these things, but beyond the drug trials,
Sure.
we have been very active. We have for many years we participated and raised many thousands of dollars for the Walk to End Alzheimer's. There's been
They do a great job.
advocacy opportunities at state and federal levels and there has been massive improvements in by billions of dollars being spent on Alzheimer's research.
Thank God. That's what it takes, money and research, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And it takes volunteers. You have to have volunteers. If they don't have people to participate in these trials,
Yeah.
Just about every drug out there for cancer, for you name the drug that's making a difference in people's lives, would not have been possible without volunteers.
How did you hear about the Bird Institute? How did you hear about that?
I had done a little bit of research and from the Alzheimer's Association in being involved with them during care for her mother. I heard a little bit about it. I'd done some research and amazing. Google is wonderful.
Yes. So the Alzheimer's Association, they're aware of it, and they kind of confirm that it's a good place to go.
Yes, absolutely. And the research on it that I did says, why should I go to some local doctor?
Right.
He may be good, he may not. These people specialize. I had to put in an application, and it was 3 months later before we got our first appointment. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, the time that we spent actively searching and volunteering and looking, finding books to read. I think of one that I learned so much from. Before I Forget. It's by B. Smith and her husband, Dan Gasby. That was an absolute amazing read. I learned as much from that book about the journey that they went on. And that was also part of the impetus for me to possibly write a blog or write a book.
Yeah.
The fact
Great
that
movies out there too. Of course, The Notebook and Being Alice, heartbreaking stories, but nice that this story is looking like it's going to have a happy ending. And I'm so happy for you both. Hey, listen, we're coming up on a break. We will be right back. Don't go away, okay? And we're back with Cheryl and Ron Hogrefe, and they're telling their amazing story about being in a clinical trial for trying to reverse the effects of dementia. And they've had some hope. The jury's still out, but hope is a great thing. The Bible says without hope, people perish. So welcome back to the show, and welcome back, Debbie. How have these experiences led to the desire and inspiration to get the word out about your story? Did you write a book? I know you're doing interviews, but how else are you telling your story besides interviews and radio shows and stuff like that?
Well, what I've actually done, it was kind of a fluke, but in early 2021, March 2021, I was having a conversation with my youngest son. He's got a friend who has a business in domain names, and domain names, what's that? And he's, watch this, Dad. And he bought my domain name for me.
Wow.
And what do I do with this? I decided I'd never even read a blog. So I decided to experiment and play. And I started a blog, and we were just about to start this 30-day trip. Let's have fun with this and an experiment. And I started blogging about our trip, and it continued. And over a year and a half, I'm still blogging usually once a month at least about her at each one of her infusions. But I started thinking about this, and a friend of mine had been an editor. I said, "What do you think of this?" She read what I had. This should be a book. Wow. I said, "Okay, how do I do that?" And she helped me prepare the manuscript. And the book is published right now. They're working on the last part of it. Audiobook Network is working on that. But they've turned the blog, the first year and a half's worth of blogs posts, into a book. Not a book on how to be a caregiver. It's just our story and what over 30-year span, what we've gone through and how we have managed things and grown. And hopefully someone may be able to glean something from it that will help them. So the blog and the book is all I've really done. This is our first opportunity outside of that.
Oh, great. Did your first interview, huh?
Yes. Thank you, Camille.
So how has your role changed as a caregiver in the last few years? Because I'm sure you were helping her care for her mother, even though you don't think you were much help. You were maybe moral support. You would get things that were needed, no?
Yes. Well, the first part of the time, it was pretty much all her. I was still working. I retired in 2013. So for the last 3 years, I was as involved as a son-in-law can be. And her mother had a lot of other health issues also. So I was involved. But
right now, I think with what I'm getting with what is it, the medicine True Binding, is doing so many things for me and helping me that I'm not afraid if I do get somewhere and I go, say, in a restaurant and I'm far away. I just go up to someone and ask them, "Can you tell me where the ladies' room is?" And I'm not afraid of getting lost or anything like that. And I can always walk myself back where in the restaurant or the building that Ron would be sitting while I was gone.
And what's significant about that is 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, her only solution would have been find Ron, get him to help me.
Well, that's a good
It's
sign.
just another symptom of improvement.
Yeah. Debbie, you have anything?
Well, I'm just wondering if there was anything you would have done differently when you first got Cheryl's diagnosis. Is there anything you would have done differently than what you've done?
I don't know that we would have, and simply because of the fact that we had so much knowledge, so much training already, nothing was a surprise. I mean, before she actually got the diagnosis, we were very confident in what it was going to be. When we went to the Bird Institute in Tampa, Florida, and they started running the first few tests and stuff, we already knew because of the way things that she was doing. So it wasn't a big surprise to us. And I don't know that we would have done much different.
How about tips? Have you got any tips that you can recommend to other caregivers to help them stay patient, stay hopeful?
Well, for me, I have two things that I think that I would tell any new caregiver. I think the biggest mistake any caregiver can make is to just sit back and let it happen. I mean, no matter how good you are, no matter how loving you are, you can't do this by yourself. And there's a wealth of information out there, but it's not going to seek you out. You have to go search for it. You have to go out there. There's the Alzheimer's Association. There's numerous books by wonderful authors. There's so much information to be found, and there are so many people willing to help. But you have to look for it. You have to go out there. I mean, I like to say a lone wolf caregiver is inevitably doomed to failure.
Yeah, isolation.
Yes. And the one other thing that I would tell someone, when you are searching for help, never give up. I mean, her journey through 4 different times trying to find a drug trial that she could get into is a testament that she never gave up. We never gave up. We continue to learn and search for more information. So,
Cheryl, you sound so coherent, and it's almost like I don't think you have dementia just from what I'm hearing. Obviously, you do, but what are the areas that you struggle with? Is it remembering names, remembering places, getting lost? I mean, what do you struggle with, and what is no problem?
Yeah. I feel that with what's going on with this drug that I'm taking now has helped me tremendously. And I don't, I'm not afraid if I get away from him. I ask somebody, where can you tell me? And I look for it. And now if I go in a restaurant or something and I'm, not near him or anything like that, I ask people, where can you tell me where the ladies' room is?
So less fear, more logic.
So
I can figure this out.
What I'm saying through all
Calm
that,
down.
and I've repeated myself, but I'm not fearful.
That's a biggie.
his question is, what do you struggle with?
What do I struggle with? I can't think of the worst thing that I struggle with.
It's simply memory.
Yeah.
Just memory.
Yeah, probably.
Short-term memory, longer-term memory.
Short-term memory.
Short-term.
Like what happened 5 seconds ago.
Yes. Yeah. She, not picking on her, and she knows I don't,
Yeah,
but she just forgot that she had just told you that, and she told you again.
yeah.
But what I really appreciated about you, Cheryl, in that is that you acknowledged that you could be repeating yourself, or you had self-awareness about repeating yourself. And I think in many cases there's not that self-awareness. So that's a very encouraging thing to see.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're up on another break. We're gonna be right back. Don't go away.
Okay.
And welcome back to the Caregiver Dave Show with my guests, Ron and Cheryl Hogrefe, and my co-host, Debbie Peterson. And we're talking about dementia and the test trial that they're doing that they barely got into, and they're showing great hope. So what is the name of this wonder drug, or is it a series of drugs or a bunch of drugs?
Well, it has
Are
a
you
very
allowed to
simple.
say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has a very simple name. The company is True Binding, and the drug name is TB006. That's
006.
a
What's
simple
the company
drug.
name again? And how do you spell it?
True Binding.
TRUE. Bind.
TRUE Binding. BINDING.
And is that
That
one
is the
word?
company.
One word or two?
2 words.
2 words. And is this a new company? It's a pharmaceutical company, obviously, right?
Right. Pharmaceutical research company. I don't know a lot about them. The only reason I know their name is because when we onboarded this is the company, this is the drug that we're trying. But
And
the
of course,
novel
you have to
approach.
sign a waiver saying, this could happen, that could happen, you could die, whatever.
Yes, absolutely. both Cheryl and I had to sign same thing as caregiver, had to be involved. But
And were you concerned? Were you concerned about signing all your rights away and taking the risk? What was it? What were you thinking? What was your thought process trying to decide as you both decided together? I mean, did you agree? Did she want to do one thing and you disagreed? I mean, how did it go?
There really was no disagreement. I mean, I left the choice up to her, and if she's willing, it's her body.
Yeah.
It's her. She's able to decide for herself. She was more than willing, so I'll go along for the ride. I'll be her taxi driver. I'll be her chauffeur. I'll be her caregiver. Answer hours worth of questions for them to follow up and ask her the same questions. I'll do whatever it takes. In my mind, it's a no-lose situation. Obviously, there's an extreme possibility that could have made things worse.
Yeah.
But that's not likely. So at the worst, we continue on with the same thing, and she's been part of the research.
Yeah.
So to us both, it was a win-win situation.
Great attitude.
Maybe the drug will help. If not, we've created some of the research that will eventually help. So.
And how's your faith? Do you have faith in God and the next life? I mean, this world, they say, isn't our home. The next life is. I mean, what is your hope in the future?
Well, yes, we both have very strong faith. And through this whole journey, I've talked through the book and through the blog, I've talked many times about how amazed I am of all of the things that had to happen to put me in the position I'm in, to be the caregiver for her. I can go back years, go back decades to put us in this position. There can be no other hand but God in directing things. The caregiver that she needed was created by all of these things that have happened in the past. We have a very strong faith that holds us through a lot of this.
You're truly blessed.
So if I wanted to follow your story, Ron and Cheryl, how would I do that? Are you still blogging?
Yes, I am. Not quite as often, but it's a simple website, ronaldhogrefe.com. The spelling, I pronounced it that way so people would spell it correctly. But and that's my blog. It's just my personal thoughts there. I'm at least once a month at her infusions. I update my followers on what's happened this month, what we've done, how things going. I'm keeping a log of them. The book itself ends right at the second infusion, the beginning of the 2-year open label study. And that's where the book ends. I am continuing to keep the blog posts, and we'll see how this book goes. If there is, there may be a possibility of putting the next 2 years worth into a second book. I don't know. But
Give us that title again. What's the title again?
The title of the book is A Life Lived Through the Eyes of Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
The author is just Ronald Hogrefe.
Can you spell your last name for us again?
Yes, it's spelled Hogrefe.
Hogrefe. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Hogrefe or Hogrefe. But
your
as I told
website,
Dave at the beginning, the old Germans didn't know how to spell, I guess.
But your website is the phonetic spelling, or no?
Yes, it is the phonetic spelling. RonaldHogrefe.com.
Hograve.
No, Hogrefe. I'm sorry, not the phonetic.
Hogrefe.
Yes.
Got it. All right. Well, what an amazing story. Cheryl, are you happy with the way things are going? I'm sure you prayed about this before you decided to do it.
Yes, I'm very happy about being able to be part of this and get the word out for other people.
Yeah. And you've been married 50, how many years?
August 30th will be 54.
54 years. So you're in your 70s, right? Both of you?
Yes.
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 You have
I
children?
don't have. Yes.
And
we have 2 boys and a girl.
And how do they fit into all this? I assume they're very supportive. Were they concerned about the trial at all? Kids are funny that way,
They didn't show it. They seem to be happy for their mother that she's going through this. They're happy for the changes. 2 of our children were part of the trip that we just took. Our middle son in Atlanta and our daughter in Frankfort, Kentucky. So our oldest son lives right here in Melbourne, Florida. Part of the reason we moved over here, so be closer to him.
Did they tell you what the odds were of their success so far? Because you're not the first one to take this drug, are you?
We have been given information that the same things that Cheryl is seeing, the same changes in cognitive abilities are consistent across the whole. I believe I was told 150 participants. I might be wrong on the exact number, but the statistics across the board are the same, are identical to what Cheryl is showing as far as cognitive scores. There are many stories to be similar to hers of improvement. So the drug is a novel approach in the fact that instead of going after the amyloid plaques or the tau tangles, there's another protein in the blood that, in simple terms, acts as the glue that allows the tau protein, the amyloid plaque proteins, to attach to brain cells. By neutralizing that glue, so to speak,
Yeah.
It eliminates the problem and is actually releasing ongoing activity also. So, I mean, you cannot repair or replace already dead and gone brain cells, but you can stop any ongoing activity. That's where the improvements are coming from.
So if you cannot repair, but you can just stop, how is she theoretically getting better? She should just not be getting worse, no?
Well, because it's releasing the ongoing and stopping the ongoing plaque and tangle activity. The activity is no longer happening. There are no more. So the brain does find new pathways.
Yes.
New pathways and so forth.
Yeah.
So
my wife had a stroke, and I know all about, the new pathways. Listen, we're up on our final break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And we're back on the Caregiver Dave Show on the HealthyLife.net network. All positive talk radio all the time with Ron and Cheryl Hogrefe and my guest host, my co-host, Debbie Peterson. And we're talking about Alzheimer's and hope of new drugs. You have a neurologist, I assume, and are traditional doctors skeptical about trials like this? I mean, did you try to ask them? I know when I asked our doctor, my aunt, which is my mother's sister, we're currently dealing with her dementia. And so I asked the doctor, and she was formally diagnosed with dementia, not Alzheimer's, but a form of dementia. And I said, are there any drugs that can be, beneficial? And she says, well, not for her because she's, I forgot what he actually said, but he just, poo-pooed it. And I'm wondering, is that just the standard answer that neurologists will give you about any hope for drugs?
that really surprises me because
Really?
that's not what we have run into. We have had mixed reviews. We had one neurologist that we were not impressed with, but I had done some research ahead of time, and our first place for help was I applied to and went to the Bird Institute in Tampa, Florida. They are actually world renowned as one of the premier treatment facilities for people with dementia. And I applied there and went there immediately. So, but I do understand what the family doctor, the general practitioner, they don't understand. And the drugs that were out there back when her mother was in, the drugs that were out there worked for a period of time. They slowed the progression. They helped some, but the longer you took them, they lost their effectiveness. They didn't stop anything.
Yeah.
There are so many improvements in research, so many more billions of dollars being spent on research, that there are a number of drugs out there that are showing promise.
Yeah. And I remember now what he said. He said, well, they have a lot of side effects. And in my opinion, the side effects, outweigh the benefits, the so-called benefits, because the benefits are very small, but the side effects are significant. I think that's what he told us. Have you had any side effects?
No, I don't think she did.
You read that stuff that comes with all of the drugs, and it sounds like they use the same side effects for no matter what drug they've got. Nausea, headaches, vomiting, death, mental illness. I mean, God, everything's on that list. Like, well, who would sign up for that? But maybe the doctors just don't understand the latest cutting edge. I mean, they're supposed to be constantly getting updates on what's out there, I'm assuming.
I know the neurologist that we're with now, I went on a search for, and I asked for and searched for a neurologists who specialized in Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So
Well, my aunt doesn't have Alzheimer's. She just has some form of dementia because there's so many that, they can't really pinpoint.
Right. But there are a lot of tests to determine which, and it does make a difference now as to which drug they use and so forth I can't even begin to name them all, but there is vascular dementia that's simply from blood flow problems to the different parts of the brain. There's Lewy body dementia. I don't know. They all have a common denominator in the first attack is in memory. The first, but the only one I'm any bit familiar with is Alzheimer's. That's what we've dealt with personally.
Yeah.
But the test out there will determine for a good neurologist who specializes in dementia, they'll determine which drugs they can do, which they can use to slow things down, what the prognosis is, what other tests they can do. I definitely think that we are by nature, very hopeful and optimistic about things. Yes, we looked at the list of side effects on each one. Each time the opportunity for these.
I'm closer.
Especially because, especially because Cheryl has so many other underlying medical conditions too. We had to look at possible interactions and things like that.
Sure.
But with this particular drug, the one she's on now, they had extensively eliminated most side effects. They hadn't been showing hardly any side effects.
Yeah.
And to Cheryl, after seeing her mother, where her mother went, where her grandfather went, it was almost a no-brainer. I mean, the possible rewards way outweighed any risks.
Well, I can't believe how fast our time has gone today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How can listeners reach you or find out more about your book? Maybe you can give your email, your website again. When is the book supposed to come out?
The book is out. It's available. The book is out. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books, and also in digital format for Kindle. The only thing they're
you have an audio version yet or no? Audio?
They're in the process now. In fact, I just approved the sample of the narrator this morning by email, and they're about 3 months out from the audiobook being available also.
Right.
On all the major formats. Then again, the name of the book is A Life Lived Through the Eyes of Alzheimer's.
And your name on that book is spelled which way on the book?
It's spelled Ronald, Ronald, Hogrefe. That's the author on the book, and that the website is Ronald Hogrefe just ronaldhogrefe.com.
And that's Hogrefe, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show, both of you. To my audience, thank you for tuning in each and every Wednesday and making us the #1 caregiver podcast on the internet. And just a reminder, my website is caregiverdave.com. And if you join my Facebook community of 34,000, Caregiver Dave, then you will learn all about my new book, Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. Also available on Amazon, wherever books are sold. And if you click the like or follow button, whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on, it helps us reach even more caregivers by improving Google search engine algorithms. And Debbie Peterson has a book also. Tell us what that book is and how they can reach you, Debbie.
You can reach me at debbiepeterson.com, and my story of my journey as a mayor fighting corruption with other community members is The Happiest Corruption, Sleaze, Lies, and Suicide in a California beach town. And I'm going to sign off now because I have someone knocking at my door.
All right. Bye-bye.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.